composition of whose body I am in and how many cats are currently in it, and it's awkward that you would ask me that. Do not.
And we are officially recording this.
Oh.
And we are live. Welcome to Life Action Roleplay with
Cynthia Marie,
Kai Norman,
and Ryan Omega. We have a few special guests with us today. Introduce yourselves, please.
so many.
Hi, I'm Vivid Vivka. Yay.
Hi, I'm Liam Neary. Yay.
Hi, I'm Aelflaed. Yay.
And where might people know you on anything on the internets?
on the socials.
On the socials.
Yay.
How are you well known for things and
Yeah,
stuff?
how would people know you?
Let's see. I play on Sirens of the Realms. I play a character named Ghost. I'm sorry. I am a disaster sprite. I also am on pretty much every social media ever under Vivid Vivka. That's VIVID-VIVKA. I am also sorry. I made terrible decisions when I chose my name. That's a lot of V's and a lot of I's. I am also the official D&D NPC, the Black Viper. That's right. So those little minis and whatnot you're buying, that's me. So, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Liam?
How do you follow that? Let's be honest real quick. My name is Liam Neary. I've been LARPing from coast to coast, country to country. You can find me online at the Liam Neary on Instagram. I don't know how to follow Viv. Let's be honest.
I forgot to say that I also LARP.
I also LARP,
The
apparently.
important
Viv.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Other words to describe you.
describe you. Yes.
Yes. So I, on social media, you can find me as Aelflaed Model on both Instagram and Twitter. Also, poor choice and username, AELFLAEDMODEL.
Wow.
Yeah.
The way you presented that was like Chinese algebra.
Aelflaed model?
Yeah.
Modal?
I feel like I made my life so much easier. Just the Liam Neary.
Yes, yes, you
Done.
did.
And I LARP, I model, I'm just a generic goof. Yeah, that's what I do.
With fabulously colored hair.
Yeah.
I will say that Liam, you could call him a Neary Duell.
Oh, Kai.
So those of you who cannot see this, there is some face palming happening at the moment
I allow it.
with Liam's hand on Kai's face.
I allow it.
It's kind of hot.
Moving on.
All right, what are we drinking today?
Sake!
Correction, Nagori.
Isn't that a sake?
It's unfiltered sake.
Yeah, but it's a specific.
You
It's
uncultured swine.
It's a specific.
Yeah.
There's nothing uncultured about going into the details.
And I'm having water because I'm moderating.
Our moderate moderator.
Yeah,
I thought you said that you were waterating.
I am also moderating.
Our DD podcast.
And does anybody have any shout-outs that they want to give out?
I have a lot. I
All
have
right.
a few.
All right, go for it.
Pick one.
Can't remember all of them, though. So, shout out to Twin Mask, who's going to accept me for my new character that I'm coming out with tomorrow. No, Saturday. But yeah, really excited. Also, shout out to the new Coterie Kitties. You know who you are. I'm really excited for those. And I'm really excited to LARP. I haven't LARPed in forever. So I'm excited to, just get out there and, see all of you guys and LARP and be a part of it. Yay!
I have a shout out to my friend Tobias, who could not be here due to so much schedule.
Stealing my shout out.
Yeah, he's my boy.
So for our
Awkward, I was gonna do it
listeners,
too.
Tobias has been on previous episodes.
Yes, he has.
So.
Much
he
to the
has.
chagrin of all.
And he would have been here. Unfortunately, there was a big schedule mess up, and he unfortunately couldn't make it. So shout out to my boy, as thank you. For those of you who can't see, I am getting double birds from Aelflaed.
I didn't even see it. I was right here.
Ale is in beer ale.
Aelflaed.
Elf is just...
Aelflaed.
I think this is gonna be the whole podcast trying to pronounce her name.
You kept saying it so often earlier.
That's
what
He couldn't say Effendel. He just kept saying my name over and over.
Correct.
again.
But now Offendle is like stuck in my head because you called them Offendle because they get offended easily.
How dare you?
Case in point.
Let's illustrate the
That
point.
checks out.
Yeah. Super checks out.
Aelflaed, do you have shout-outs?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, no
Because I
problem.
stole it.
Yeah, it's
No
fine.
problem.
You had your waifu.
Are you like me with
The
like
one with
all
the
of my
stripe in their hair?
husbandos?
Oh, that waifu. Yeah, Tobias. You already got a shout.
I already stole him.
We
Yes.
can't give him that much of an ego to shout out to him twice.
I think we just did.
Yikes.
Oof.
Kai?
Big oof.
Awkward.
Viv.
So, shout outs. I would like to do a shout out for anyone who puts up with my debauchery and weirdness and lewdness on Patreon. The Vivid Cult. Thank you so much for actually supporting me because, oh my god, without you, I don't know what the heck I would do. Literally, like, I am a weirdo. How would I survive? Yeah, that's it. And also when I was on my way here, I saw a really good dog in a sweater. Shout out to that dog. You're a good dog.
I'm just giving you post-it notes so you can actually communicate if you need to.
I'm fine. But do we all have pens, guys?
No, you're gonna have to use blood.
Do you have a knife?
We don't even all have post-it notes. You miscounted.
I have other...
Oh God! I wrote the real note.
Welcome to our real podcast.
If you can hear us help.
This is going to get cut, but he pulled a knife on me. Someone help.
Podcast demand sacrifice.
This is
Blood, sweat, and tears.
This is not where I expected things to go. But
Hi,
I
welcome
kind-
to the kazoo episode.
I kind of always have.
Where's the mic? Where's the kazoo?
It's in the car. This isn't where I expected things to go, but honestly, I kind of had an inkling.
So to kind of clue you both in, or all three of you in, we had the discussion of like every anime has like the beach episode where like all the it's like very much fan service. We are going to start the trend of in podcast we have the kazoo episode.
It's just the kazoo.
Where
It's
everyone has at least one person has to talk through a kazoo.
One person doesn't have to be like often or anything.
Does a plane count?
No, the plane does not have a kazoo because it doesn't have a mouth.
Okay.
I'm gonna try my shout out real quick.
Go for it.
Okay, wait. Let
So-
me put this down.
wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Go.
So my shout out is to my player base. I'm not going to reveal names because sometimes people don't necessarily want to say who they are and things like that. But we have quite a few players who died. All of those players were really excited for dying because in Dystopia Rising you have a lot of extra lives. And dying is actually a really fun kind of experience, or at least at NorCal, we try very hard to make it that way. So much so that I even had two of my players buy in to such a level that they died during the day, a little bit after midday. I offered to them if they wanted to do some extra NPC shift for some extra AP, which is the volunteer points for, earning extra points in the game. I offered that to them if they would like to wait until nightfall to do their Gravemind shifts, because it would be more atmospheric. Both of them agreed, and we're super, super happy with the results. We did, I think, 11 Gravemind scenes. So a lot of players died, and every one of our players that died loved it. And I really, really appreciate that level of buy-in where the players are so much more interested in the narrative and the story and firing their characters' lives like ammunition rather than viewing them as investments that when that character goes away, they're going to be distraught about it. I mean, you can be sad that you've lost a character, but appreciate the story that character has told and the impact that character has left. I think some people get a little too worried about the investment of I've put this much time into the character, rather than on a better philosophy, I've written this many chapters of this character's life.
So I would actually like to go back to Kai's shout out, because that's a really big thing when it comes to LARPing, which is being able to let go of a character and being able to experience a story rather than being like, I'm just here to live as this character and to just be this person. And so that's like 11 deaths and everybody was super positive is tremendous. I will also say that you have excellent community, sir.
I'm really, really proud of them. And yeah, like I consider myself very lucky for those guys. They are wonderful, wonderful creatures and amazing supper goblins, and they love to run around and scream, and even sometimes members of the group get mind controlled into killing their friends, and do really, really well at it. Everyone loved it. Like, I mean, that's not something that's going to happen every game, but it definitely gave a different perspective that people are not expecting. And we tried to make sure that those Gravemind scenes were really, really amazing moments for them.
But to piggyback off of your point of that, sometimes the death of a character that you've given so much into could lend so much to the story. I wanted to point out that in Twin Mask, actually, there was a character that died last game named Victoria, and my God, like the screams and the howls Saturday night as her body laid there and would not get back up. And since then, in between games, someone has designed a kind of like Victoria like memorial tattoo. In this game, a ton of people are getting the tattoo, and you know, it's been noted that this is actually like a permanent tattoo, and someone will always be on site to like redo the tattoo every time. And if you don't want to keep getting the tattoo on, well then, you know, in game get the tattoo somewhere where somewhere where it's not visible. But just being a kind of newer player for a fully immersive LARP and being able to see something like this was really incredible and powerful to see that even after the character dies, much like life, there's still so much that can happen, so much that can be given, so much more story that even the memory of your character can continue on and give.
Before I forget, I'm going to give my shout out.
Oh, right, sorry.
It's okay, no. One of the things I do love about this podcast is that we are pretty casual, even though we do have a topic. But my shout out is to a few people, my friends Shell and Dylan, who I went up with to Dystopia Rising NorCal. And so it's wonderful just having the road trip up there, but also because Dylan plays such an iconic TV priest in Dystopia Rising. It was because of his guidance of playing a TV priest that I was able to form my DR character, Marion Tendo, who is also a TV priest. And so a lot of what you see in Marion is a lot of thanks to my discussions with Dylan. But I also have to give a shout out to Matt Mack, who plays Spice in Dystopia Rising, because it's been literally years and I've never really tried a romantic RP with anybody. So it's kind of fun for Marion to not understand what dating is and Spice to actually show him, well, this is how you go on a date. And it was kind of fun. There are pictures of me holding hands with him, and then I finally got the courage to ask him to prom, and he put his hat on my head, and he says, I would be honored. Aww. So Marion has a prom date.
Is that like wearing his varsity jacket?
Kinda.
I mean, for a Vegasian, quite possibly.
Yeah. All right. So for today's topic, when we put up the podcast, we'll know exactly what to call it, but we wanted to talk about the different roles that different LARPers have when it comes to experience. For people who are just starting the first LARP, some responsibilities that you can do to enhance your game, some intermediate players in order to help foster the relationships with newer players, and veteran players who have been there a long time, who are the old guard, and what their responsibility is in order to enhance the role-playing community in a LARP. That is a very broad subject, so I'm not even sure where we should begin talking about this.
Well, I think we should define what a beginner LARPer is versus an intermediate LARPer versus a veteran LARPer in terms of maybe years or experiences. So I will throw this question out. What are your guys' definition?
I would say to start off with, any definitions that we give on this podcast are not definitive. These are just for the sake of our discussionary process right now. I will throw out and say that I feel like a player who has been playing a particular game for more than maybe a year and a half to 2 years is a pretty good example of a character that is perhaps getting into the veteran kind of status. I've seen a lot of different LARPs that after you hit that kind of 1 year mark or the 2 year mark, they often start offering kind of advanced professions or specializations, or there's a lot of content that is created as kind of like high-end content of like, you know, if your characters survive this long, then you can try and do something like this and earn this kind of title, and that title comes with certain benefits. And more often than not, in good games where they're well designed, those benefits then roll back over to the younger players and continue this really healthy cycle.
I would like to counter with, instead of calling it years, call it games.
Yes.
Essentially, because I know for myself that I've been LARPing for like about 1.5 years, but I haven't been to all the games because of, you know, life. So I would like to broaden the definition of veteran LARPer to maybe 12 and beyond games, right? So that gives you about a year, once a month or twice a month, depending on how your game is rolled. But 12 and beyond, I would say, is an intermediate to an advanced kind of LARPer, at least for me.
I think for me, instead of thinking of numbers or years, I try to think of experiences. So I would say that if you're an intermediate LARPer, you're at the point where you're handling situations and plots that no longer rely on just the mechanics of the game. So you're now dealing with maybe some politics that don't have mechanical things. It's really based off of your role play. For a veteran player, you're at the point where your actions are now shaping the world of that game and the way game runs. I mean, you're not dominating necessarily, but like sometimes like you might see a thing and it might affect how that entire game plays. If you're at that point, or if you're structuring things that, like Kai's example of like the creation of a guard, like would show to me a veteran player, because now he has a thing that's now affecting that world. So I think of it in terms of influence.
I think another addition to it, aside from just numbers, is also just comfort level. Because I feel like for a long time you can feel, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you can feel very unsure of your place and unsure of your character, unsure of your footing within a LARP. And I feel like a lot of people get kind of stuck in that and feel like if they don't just jump in right away and feel automatically natural that they're not doing so well, it's like it takes a long time to, I mean, essentially it's like you're learning an entirely new person, and that person is your character. And through that, you know, that may take time, and that time varies from individual to individual, and I would say even further from character to character within the individual, and it's totally fine. Take your time. No big deal. It's not a race to be a veteran. It's fine.
I'm going to kind of echo what Ryan said, that it is very much an older player. You start shaping the world in a way that even you don't understand. Sometimes even in a way where either you include or exclude somebody, that still shapes the world because it very much has that impact, where you are losing a voice or gaining a voice into what you as an older player has. So as an older player in games that I've played, when I was a younger, dumber LARPer, I wouldn't listen to people because I thought I was important. And then as I got older, I realized that I needed other experiences to balance out my own so I could see other viewpoints, and that actually helped me reach another level to kind of shape the world to be, honestly, better at that point.
So I find it interesting that you guys are actually talking about a veteran player shaping the world, because I just, in my vampire game with One World by Night, I actually just got Seneschal. Look at that.
To applaud.
But what's interesting is that I consider myself more of an intermediate player, where I'm still kind of learning the ropes of that role, or learning how to shape this world. So I don't necessarily consider, just because I got Seneschal doesn't mean that I'm necessarily a veteran player, because I'm not quite sure how I'm shaping that world yet, and making specific decisions, knowing that I'm shaping that world. I just kind of like, here I am, I'm Seneschal, great, okay, what's this job now? So I it's fascinating to me that you guys, that's how you guys define it, and if that's the case, then I've become a veteran within a year, which is, whoa, mind-boggling for me, but yeah, I like it. It's just, intermediate world is kind of a weird amalgamation of both beginner and advanced. Viv, you got a point?
Well, I was just going to say with yours, like, I do the Bruce Monarch vampire game, and...
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
I heard about this.
Yeah, you want to talk about that. Like, I am a neonate from the 80s who can't do anything and is just going off and doing her own thing, but I still managed to become Prince last game. So,
Acting.
Yeah, through literally being the best and worst choice. But yeah, it was an amazing experience and it was totally fun. But just because I was Prince, and went right up that ladder, I was Primogen and then I was Prince, like all within 20 minutes, like sweat drop, really intense. But yeah, I still feel like I'm a new player within that realm. Having a lot of fun, but wow, that crown is heavy.
Side note, I got all the texts for that. We will talk later.
So I think what we're all kind of echoing, and you guys can chime in on this, is the transition from being really focused inwardly on ourselves and in our character to having a different viewpoint that's really essentially looking more into the world and how we affect the world rather than what our own characters do specifically. Like, I don't want to say selfish because it's not necessarily selfish, but being single, like just really focused on something.
And kind of you figure out where your place is
Yes.
in the game world once you reach that point when you say something, people go, oh, I agree, and you go, oh, my opinion matters, and that's when you kind of reach that next level as a player to realize, like, oh, okay, I've been around long enough that where my opinion holds weight, and so people will listen to what I have to say, and then at that kind of point you kind of have to realize how you're shaping the world around you and how you're affecting the other people around you.
It's like introspection versus extrospection. Is that even a word?
Wait.
Extrospection, like introspection, but extrospection, like
Yeah.
versus
Yeah,
externally.
We'll
But
make
yeah,
up words.
I don't know if that is actually a made up word.
Hand me the dictionary, we'll add it.
But yeah, definitely like expanding your viewpoint and your character goals, and also just considering other people.
Yeah.
And how to lift up other people and give other people a good time. I've got a particular thing to reference on, but...
So, I'd like to ask a question, since we're all kind of defining the veteran experience as experiences. Split it between player and game, because I'm about to enter a game that I've been playing for about a year as a new character now. So my character may not have as much influence in the world because I'm new in the world, but I'm a veteran player-ish. I'm still holding that I'm an intermediate player. But for the sake of this discussion, how does that differ in LARP, really? There's all the fingers and the hand raising, so
So I will say, because you have...
yes, pencil throwing too.
So I will say, as somebody who's been at the game for a year, on a kind of out-of-game level, people have an idea of who you are. So even if you're showing up as a new face, as a new character, you still have a little bit of weight going with you. The difference between being a new player and being a new player and a new character versus being an old player and a new character is, if you're a new player and a new character, people don't really know how they're going to approach you. They don't really know you very well. So they're going to approach you and kind of find out what your opinion is, how you're looking at things, and kind of judge you off that. If you are an older player playing a newer character, they still have an idea of maybe not who you are as the character, but they'll know who you are as a player, and they'll see how you affected the world as your other characters, and weigh that in a way towards how this new character acts. So before, if you were playing a benevolent character, you were playing the pillar of the community, you were playing this hero of wherever you are, and then you make this new character. And this character could either be like, very aloof, a bard, somebody who's very social, very, I don't care, cares to the wind, or somebody who's just shady and terrible. People will still view this other character and see how it affects their gameplay, because it also kind of affects how they interact with you as well. Some characters will be like, oh, well, I haven't interacted with you as my shady character. So your opinion, like, maybe it might not be like your other character, it might not be the opinion that I really like, going off and saving the world, but like, hey, you want to go rob that guy? Well, I think you're a cool person, so you saying you want to go rob a guy, yeah, I'll let you in, new person. Let's go do this. And so having that, like, new face, new character versus old face, new character is very different. You still kind of have that intermediate going, even though it's a new face.
You talked about the outwardly same game, different character, but same player, and kind of figuring out how if you're an experienced or intermediate player, depending on your character. From what I understand, it might have been in the respect of, I've been playing for so long, but I'm just playing a different character, but what does that mean for me? And when I think about that, I think about people who have played different games, maybe for about 5, 6, 7 years. They might be going to a completely different game that people don't know them from. Maybe they don't know that they've LARPed because they've gone to a different coast or something like that. That doesn't mean that all their previous LARP experience is negated. I go back to the whole viewpoint. When you go into this game, are you going in completely just focusing on your character and everything that you're doing just on your character, or are you going to think about other people that you're around? Liam actually has a really good rule that he has voiced before with me, which is the 10-foot rule.
Yes.
And I'll let him kind of explain that a little bit more, but in general terms, it is essentially anybody that is within 10 feet of me is having a good time. And even if you're a new player in a new game, playing a new character, but you have had experience, that doesn't mean you can't take that mindset with you, and that your experience is still completely valid. So
It's interesting because Aelflaed and I are trying twin masks for the first time this weekend, and both her and I have been LARPing for a long time. We've been LARPing together for a long time. I've been LARPing with a few people for a long time that actually attend this game, and so it'll be an interesting experience because I'm coming in as a new face, as a new character, but I'm still an old LARPer. I've been doing this for more than half of my life. So coming in, my expectations as a veteran in a game that I've played for a long time versus a brand new game would be very different, and my actions will also be very different because I also understand that I'm coming in with very little experience on the world, very little weight on the world, and a whole lot of questions over how I'm going to, what I want to do in this world. Because when you come in a brand new game, you still are trying to figure out where your niche is. You're still trying to figure out where you're going with it. And so the 10-foot rule is something that I very much preach for older players. I do it as much as I can. I have to figure out how to make that work in a game where I'm brand new. And I have to figure out the kind of vibes. I have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so I can't do it immediately, but it's something that I do because I've been doing it for a long time. It's something I will try and do, especially if I go on a new player mod and I find new players and I see, somebody who I already interacted with, not being off in the corner and needing someone to go.
So for me, since I play probably the oldest character in Twin Mask, since I was there since game 1, so it'll be weird that he's been around for 8 years for this next game. On and off a little bit, but still he started in game 1. And he has a high social title, he is the Duke of Frey, which is sometimes the Archduke. So I feel like there's going to be a special responsibility in order to try to make sure that I reach out to new players, because what has happened in the past is that I would be involved with so much plot that it would be hard to talk to me. In fact, a few players have said, hey, I like you as a person and you're really cool. The problem is it's intimidating to talk to you. And I'm like, dude, like, he drinks a lot and knows things, and it's not hard to talk to him when he's plastered. But in players' heads, they still have that perception, oh my god, you're a noble. You're a high-ranking noble. I can't talk to you. And so the way I'm going to try to fix that is actually surround myself with a retinue of new players and have them identify people who might not be really role-playing and go, check on that person if that's okay. If that person's okay. Make sure that person's needs are handled. Go with this person and figure out what's going on and report back to me. Does that person need to just hang out? So it's going to be a lot of administration a little bit in order to reach out to that many people, but I feel like that is kind of my responsibility. I feel like I'm the Queen of England at this point. And you know what? That person just needs to know how to socialize with many people at once, even if that means coming up with new solutions to make sure that everyone else's role play is not just managed, but reached out to.
And I'll kind of say I've been playing a lot of games for many years, and it's always interesting for me when I go to a new game to see those players who've been playing for a long time and see how they react. And honestly, it makes me feel really good about going to this game this weekend, knowing that you're like, is that new player having fun? Just bring them to me. Let's see what they want to do. And because I kind of do that at Dystopia Rising, I've been playing again since the game started, and so I also have that weird strain disadvantage where everybody I have to butt into their conversations, and it's really great for making new friends.
I have that in real life.
Yeah, you do.
You do. And trust me, it's a great quote-unquote disadvantage to have. But I have a reason both in character and out of character as an older player to be like, hey, what's up? What are you doing right now? You want to go do something? Let's go do something stupid and fun. And you kind of do it in a more dignified kind of drinking way. I do it in a more I'm quite literally 2 inches from your face, screaming, what are you doing right now? Let's go on an adventure.
I mean, that's literally my character in Twin Mask, only she doesn't know any better. I have literally sat down, at our past Yule, I sat down with a slice of cake with the Baron of the Nadine. I was just like, hey, what's up, Barry? Come on, let's go do something. and just kept calling him Barry. And meanwhile, he's just looking at me, and he's like, you have no idea who you've sat down with, do you? And I'm like, I'm going to die. This is definitely how I die, but I have to roleplay this. And I'm like, hey, come on, we're good friends here. Come on, let's go get some cake together. And it's just like, yeah.
Viv knows how the character will die, but the character does not know how deep they're going.
But it seems like she goes all in.
Correct.
Right?
Utterly.
Which is great. So, and you are a newer player, at least with this game. Right?
Yeah, in Twin Mass, I am starting my 4th game. I do definitely still consider myself a newer player, but I've posted in all the groups and everything, and I have some meetups and everything with people who it's their first game, and just being like, listen, I have absolutely no... Listen,
Stop
I have...
throwing things at each other.
No.
Don't let me call my face.
You were yelling at us earlier. But yeah, I have meetups and whatnot with lots of players who it's their first game, just being like, hey, safe space. I just walk around and find stuff to do. Come find me. We'll get into some Fae bullshit together. Let's just do it.
So when it comes to new player stuff, what do your guys' be? What would your guys' opinion be on things to really think about and things to probably avoid doing?
Oh, good question.
I mean, are we talking in general or
just in general? Yeah. As far as being a new player, haven't LARPed before, including or excluding D&D and other role playing games. That's totally fine because that does add some experience. But
I would say that if you have a backstory, that's a wonderful place to launch from. But don't be married to your backstory. Make sure that you're present and role-playing with everyone. Have the backstory be able to connect you with other people, but don't talk about 3 minutes of your backstory if it has nothing to do with anything you can't connect with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
True.
So we talk about this on the podcast all the time. It's yes and or no but. Always remember to do those sort of things. Be open to what people are going to give to you, even if it doesn't pertain to your backstory. What Ryan was just saying, be open to what someone else can kind of explore with you. and push you to do. As far as etiquette is concerned, do not abuse your veteran players. Don't abuse players in general. And what I mean by that, not physically, I mean, yes, physically. But also, like...
Well,
just,
if it's a boffer game, yes, physically.
right, yeah, okay. There's that. I'm choking now. You go. I can't.
Dead.
Now I die.
We need a rest. Where's Mercy?
Really?
Murder people with words is what I'm good at.
There we go. I got it. I'm back.
Oh, she's back.
I'm back. I'm back from the dead.
I tried.
Etiquette, like I said, be kind to your veteran players. Like, if you're asking someone or people in general to help you out, don't sit there and make everybody else your subjects and do your work while you're sitting there having a conversation in character. Like, do things that you're asking other players to help you with. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. I have a story that some new player came up asking to find their spell packets, and as a player in the game, I was like, oh man, that's a real thing. Like, and I kept tripping over the spell packets, and I found them, and I was like, here you go. Like, and I kept finding them, and I was using my game time to find these spell packets for this person, and that person was just sitting there having a conversation, and I got frustrated as a player, and so in character I was like, here you go, you have your spell packets, good luck with your spells, and I like walked away really, really frustrated. So don't abuse players. Like, if you need help, ask for the help, but don't sit back and pretend that like everyone's just going to be your subjects.
So I actually have 3 things.
So many.
First of all, backstory. Your backstory should be a foundation on how you act, where your drives are, where your goals are. But again, to echo Ryan, don't be married to it. At any time that can change. I can come in playing a character that's cold and broody and then realize like, oh wait, no, I really have a passion about this subject, and it could have been something that I discovered at the game and found like, oh, I really want to pursue this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had a character married to a concept going into the game, and after his first game, that concept was gone, and I went a complete different direction.
Liam,
Yes.
we are going to get you to learn literacy.
No. It costs 4 points. It is easier for me to bleed out slower. It is the same cost for me to turn a blade away from me. No, absolutely not. You will read everything for me until the day I die.
I don't misread. I mean, that's fine.
Neither do I in this life. Neither do I. To kind of echo the player responsibility, as somebody who plays for a long time, if you ever ask something of another player, always ask yourself this first. Would I have fun doing that? If I ever told a player, like, you know, go grab me a coffee, I would think to myself, like, would I want to do that? Especially, like, if, depending on the game, if grabbing a coffee, grabbing a drink cost you money. Now, as an older player, if I told a newer player, like, hey, do you want to have a drink? Like, I'm relaxing right now, but here's money for me, here's money for you, and here's a little money for your little journey to go to the bar that's 5 feet away because I don't want to get up. Could you go get me a drink and get yourself a drink at the same time? What I'm doing as an older player is I'm creating agency for this player to A, interact with me, to go interact with whoever is serving them whatever I would like, and then come back and we have a conversation. So you were asked by a player to go get you a thing. And I will say it's a poor choice on the player to be like, well, I can't find these things. And you, being a kind person and being a kind character, I assume, went out and somewhat helped this other character because they couldn't be bothered to go do their own thing. So it created a tie between you and this other character, which was negative. And negative ties are never bad. I think negative ties are great for story. One of my closest friends and I, for a year, our characters were at odds with each other, and I was literally roommates with this guy. We butted heads at game, and then after game, we would sit around and we would converse, we would laugh about it, and we would figure out other ways, either telling each other or not telling each other, to mess with each other, and that was kind of a good thing. What just happened to Roundsby? You're all terrible.
Didn't happen.
This is good.
This is good.
I super agree with everything you're saying.
Do you? Were you even paying attention?
I was.
Terrible.
No, you're doing a great job. I'm really glad that we've brought you here. And
I'm trying to think of my third. I had a third.
Math is hard.
I had a third. God, you're terrible.
it'll come back to you.
Viv, did you have something?
Yeah, we were talking about things that your character started out with that you were. So when I started Twin Masks, I had something in my backstory that basically I didn't like half dragons, and I was like, this is going to be my thing. This is going to give me a reason to like have some conflict with some people and this and that. Yeah, that didn't really last because unfortunately, shout out to India, I met the most amazing, darling, like be still my heart half dragon, and so for the entire first game, like every time she would talk to me, I would just be like, well, I don't like you, but God, I like you. And I just like, I could not stop. Just, I couldn't not like her. And it was like actually a kind of a moment for my character, much quicker than I ever anticipated, to have to like let go of that angst and that strife and that prejudice against half dragons, because she's just so sweet. And I mean, the last game actually, I think it was the last game, she actually died. She missed it. And when she came back, I couldn't find her. And so it was like 3 a.m. and I'm running around like outside just being like, my beautiful opal, where are you? Where is my opal? Lisa, I cannot find you. India, I'm coming for you. I'm going to hug you so hard this weekend. My sweet half-dragon princess, I love you. What was my point?
Amazing.
Hashtag disaster sprite.
Every character is me up to 12.
Amazing.
Not 11.
I will also say that, like, even negative interactions, my shout out before to Tobias, his character was full on planning to murder my character so dead. It is not even funny. We talked about it after game because he's like, you know, I had all these plans to murder you because I knew who you were and I knew what you were doing. And then I was so sweet and so stupid and so sweetly stupid that he's like, I like him too much. I can't kill him. And that's genuinely how we became friends. And so even having those negative interactions can lead to a lot of great out-of-game friendships, which will also kind of like help you on the in-game.
So, like, one thing that I did as a veteran player, and luckily I do this with my character because sometimes he drinks. Sometimes.
Sometimes he drinks before 9.
Yeah.
AM.
Same.
Yeah. I know. So relatable.
All of this is true.
But as a veteran character, some veterans believe that some tasks might be beneath them. And so the only thing that I can say is that, well, I mean, yes, you can delegate that, but sometimes, in the case of one player, Izzy, who was, I think it was her first game playing Ember, and she and someone else, they lost their daggers, and so I just, as the Archduke at times, like, oh, I'll help you find them. Let's just take a walk. And he goes, really? You're gonna come with us? I'm like, yeah. It's a nice night. And I don't want you unprotected, so let's just go find daggers. And they were kind of really, really shocked that someone would do that. But it ended up rewarding me in the end because I was also planning a huge party for Unity in which nothing went right at all. Like, I had a train wreck. It was a train wreck. I had a meltdown in and out of character because nothing went right because my producer brain exploded. The one saving grace was Ember performing, singing at the flagpole while a battle was happening 20 feet away, and while she was singing, the battle began to stop, and people were listening to her, and I'm like, this is the most amazing role play, and I would not have had that experience if I hadn't just randomly decided, let me help you pick up daggers.
Okay, so just it's a quick note. I'm going to get on my soapbox for 2 seconds. I apologize. There is nothing that should be beneath anybody. We all pay the same amount of money to go attend a game. We are all on the same level as players. So if you think that your character is higher than another, please find a yes and moment so that you can help that new person or whoever that is, because we all are coming here to have a freaking good time. So don't pretend that you are better than somebody else, because really we are all human beings trying to live and have fun and have a good experience. Damn it.
Ramen.
Except for me, everybody is better than the trash bird. It's okay.
There's that.
Not wrong.
It is very comfy at the bottom of the barrel.
I just can't. We all put our hard-earned money into something that we all just want to have a good time at, regardless of how you get your money. Like, we're all putting in the money in there. Like, we're all having a good time. Don't pretend that we're all hitting people with a foam sword. Like,
Again,
sorry.
depends on the game. But
Or a Nerf gun.
or rock, paper, scissors, or rolling
That's
dice,
it, yeah,
or
yeah.
however we are interacting with each other. Regardless, we are all here to have a good time.
Exactly.
One thing I will say as an older player, which it took me a very short time to realize, which was new players are lifeblood, and new players make games better. New players inspire us. New players make us want to. New players want to make us be better. I have pushed myself further as a gamer, as a crafter, as a LARPer, as a yes, because I have seen new players just come through the gate going full force and impressing me in ways that I did not expect. And I would look at myself and go, I've been playing this game for this much time, and this new player already is better at me than this. I should learn from them. I shouldn't try and overshadow them. I should make them, who put in their effort, feel good, and then either take inspiration from that and make myself better, or ask them for help. Hilariously enough, I knew who Kai was before I knew Kai because of an old picture of a cosplay that he did. Yep. And so when I met him, like, Kai, this brand new player who I'd never met, had a costume that floored me. I was so impressed by him that I'm like, I want to be as cool as this guy. And so I straight up asked him, like, how did you do all this? And Kai was kind enough to explain, like, how he distressed his kit, how he added everything in his mentality. So even as an older player who's been playing a game for years and years and years, someone came in and taught me something new. And that is still a great thing to have. And I feel like, as some older veterans have, they view the game as theirs, and they view the game as, I play it my way, which is kind of a toxic way to view it. And it's unfortunate that this is a thing. As younger generations come up, as younger generations spark new creativity in different gamers, the games will evolve. And we kind of have to either evolve or get left in the dust by these players. And I feel, as an older player, you have to expect to let go of your ego, let go of, my way is the best way, and you have to learn from these newer players.
Wow. That's amazing.
As a new player, you're already trying something new. You're trying LARPing. Assuming you haven't tried it before, right? You're doing this, you're going in, it might be a parlor LARP, it might be a fully immersive, like, weekend LARP, who knows? Don't stop with just signing up. Go into game, really throw yourself out there. You don't know what you're gonna get. And yes, hopefully this game will have amazing players that have been playing forever who will invite you to different adventures. And we always pray that that's the case, but always accept whatever thing is going to, well, not always, but be willing to accept whatever mod is coming out, Listen to it. Even if you don't think that your character would fully want to do it, try it out, and then that's how you figure out what you want to do. No one is going to really force you to do something. So that's kind of up to you to really try it out. Your chances are, if you're coming in, you're trying LARPing, and you're just standing there for like 36 hours, you're gonna hate it. But if you're not gonna hate it, why didn't anyone talk to me? But if you go and you reach out to different players, if you go on this mod that's gonna kill a whole bunch of things, you might have some fun. You might figure out what you enjoy. So,
So I was going to say, to continue on with, like, new LARPers interacting with older LARPers, our morning scene
Oh God, one of
Yes.
the best scenes
Morning
I've
is
ever
in
had.
sadness.
Yes, Mourningness and Sadness. That started off as one of the most frustrating. I mean, you spoke to me before we actually did that scene together. You like walked into into the old Draven house, and I was just like sitting there staring at a wall, and you're like, Viv, are out of game? Are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It was just like I was pulled in so many different directions. I tried to do so many different things that game. I tried to throw myself in and the heck out of plot, and nothing worked. And I felt like I wasted my entire game, and I was having just that exasperated moment where I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And you came in, Ryan, and we just talked a bit, and you were like, you were essentially like, hey, come on, champ, shake it off. Only you said it in your voice, not that voice, because that's not you.
Ryan, can you say that?
Hey, champ, shake it off.
Yikes.
I am terrible at impersonations. Anyway, but yeah, you kind of gave me like a pep talk, and I was like, yeah, okay, you're right. So I went upstairs, I like slapped my own face a couple times, I slammed a Red Bull, and I was like, yes, and I came back downstairs, and you were right there in the doorway, and you're like, so there are six like wives basically who need help basically reaching their dead something or other, partners, children's, pets, who knows. Do you want to help me? And I was like, I kind of signed up for religion this morning. And you're like,
Pencil it in.
yeah. And I was like, I kind of just got initiated. And you're like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing either. So YOLO. And I was like, you'll laugh. You only live a few times.
Yeah.
Which is my new thing that I'm throwing around, my legacy. You'll laugh. But yeah, so we went and we did it, and it's like, as that sun was setting, and we just threw together this amazingly organic, absolutely beautiful ritual. I mean, there was not a dry eye in the house. Every single NPC just sobbed. I mean, we had people coming up to both of us for days afterwards telling us that it was incredible. We had a PC that ended up coming and asking for like a scene just with him because it was so powerful, and I felt like it saved my game, but it kind of grounded me and made me feel just back in. But I think the most important part of that entire endeavor was when you, a seasoned player, a veteran player, aka the oldest freaking member, like the guy that built the freaking city that I'm in, turned to me, I think it was my second game, but you turned to me and you were just like, I think that was one of my favorite RP moments of this year. And that sentence was so powerful to me because it was just so validating and it was so amazing that it like, man, that high carried me through like all of game 3 because it was just like, as a veteran, the point that I'm really slowly getting towards is that as a veteran player, something as small as a single sentence of compliment can really make such an impact on a new player that it will stick with them and change them. Like these little moments and lending yourself to that new player and really having these amazing experiences together can utterly change them. And I think it did. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna cry now. But yeah, the scene was incredible. Yay.
Really quickly, doesn't matter if you're a new player, an intermediate player, or if you're an experienced player, just always check in with yourself. People might check in with you, maybe, hopefully, ideally, your friends, who knows? Maybe you decide to do this by yourself, which is great on you. But check in with yourself, the player, as in, like, did I drink water? Did I eat food? Do I need sleep? Is what I'm doing right now okay with my body and my mental state right now? Like, what do I need? Because that's always going to influence how you feel about whatever's happening around you. So, quick soapbox there.
I mean, and honestly, that's the most important thing that can be said is check in on yourself and make sure that you take care of yourself first and foremost.
I was about to say that sometimes veterans forget to do this.
Not wrong.
Because they're in the middle of so many things, and they make bad decisions because they forgot to take care of their basics because they believe they have to support the plot. So, like, some things like, oh, I could skip a meal, or I could skip sleep. Like, really, what
Everyone is giving me dirty looks right now, and it's because I run around as captain of the
Not
guard
me.
and I don't look after myself.
I'll
I
look
mean,
I feel called out.
I will give you that call out after this weekend when I realized that you were in the position I was in a long time ago. I've also suffered from chasing plot, chasing other things, and I've gotten heat exhaustion more than once because I pushed myself a little bit too hard. I didn't do a lot of self-care, and I crashed. And then 5 hours later, after I woke up in my bed going, is everything okay? And my friends are like, you're out. You might have been attacked in your sleep, but we defended you. But you didn't get up. That was real scary.
Amazing.
To kind of hark back to, like, new players and older players kind of being affected by little things they said. As a new player, when you come into a game, you're coming in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You're coming in like, oh, this is a brand new experience, whether you've been to other LARPs or not. When you start to kind of figure out who the older players are and what they do, or if even before you come into a game, you hear about these players from other players who your friends tell you about them, or you go online and you look at pictures and you're like, oh man, that person looks awesome, that person looks intimidating. When you meet that person, the way they treat you really affects how the game goes. I was very fortunate that in my first LARP ever, when I picked my character, I saw a picture of someone, she looked badass, and I went, I want to be this cool one day. And I was very lucky that when I met her, she was not only as cool looking as she was in that picture, she was also very kind. She was very welcoming to me as a new player, to bring me into the fold, to teach me a lot of things. And she really helped shape me as a character, as a LARPer going forward. And so I looked up to her as a role model. And so as I went on in years, I realized at other games I went to, people would hear about me, they would see me, and they would meet me. And the way I interacted with them mattered. Before I realized that I was a big deal at one of the games, I was dumb enough and unfortunate enough and inexperienced enough to brush someone off because I was chasing plot too deeply to truly, somebody came to me and I'm like, sorry, I'm in the middle of something, and they felt slighted. And after game, I'm like, hey man, I'm really sorry. I was lucky enough to catch them and be like, hey, sorry I didn't meet you. You looked great. My name's Liam. And they're like, hey man, I didn't really get a chance to interact with you. And I'm like, oh man, I'm real sorry. Just, if you come back next game, come hang out with me, and I'd love to hang out with you. And I was very thankful that he came back, and I got to know him, and he was an excellent player. Excellent player. As a matter of fact, it's a game is literally on the East Coast. I haven't played it in so long. We started a guild together, this character and I, and that guild is still going strong because of him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, this might be a little bit of a slightly long-term question here. But I'm wondering if any of us, and every one of us, can think if we have an experience where a player that we looked up to, or a character that we looked up to, said something to us when we were newer that actually made a little bit of an impact, or maybe a big impact. For me, because I'm going to throw this one out now, and we can come back to this in a few minutes if and when you come up with one of these guys. But for me, when I went to my first Dystopia Rising game, because before then I was a complete noob and I was running around, and there's some very, very embarrassing photos of me playing in my first LARPs when I was 19. And then I took a long break, and then I came back when I was 30. And that kind of skip was really interesting for me. But so when I came back to LARP, people thought I was a traveler from another end of the country because they thought that my costume and all of my gear looked so cool that they genuinely thought I was going to be some colossal badass. And then I start yelling really low numbers when I'm firing off my little fucking Nerf gun. And people go, wait, what? And so I had a lot of people kind of being forward and friendly, welcoming, but also kind of out of character, going wait, you're a brand new player. What the fuck? So that was really interesting for me, and that did set kind of a tone that was really nice.
So you mentioned impact from other players. Vampire, One World by Night, the game that I got Seneschal. I think the biggest impact for me was actually sitting down with Prince been talking with him, and so one specific problem that had occurred early on in my game was my character got found out that she was blood bonded to a Sedtite. Everybody's heard this on the podcast. I really don't need to talk about it all. Long story short, the one person who did not chastise my character, did not ask for a boon, did not ask for anything, he genuinely helped her, was the prince. And that, like, from a player standpoint, was an impact to me because everybody in the game gave me shit. In fact, to this day, my character still gets shit for this. And it's really frustrating. I'm like, that was a year ago. Like, I'm with somebody else. Like, get over it. But needless to say, he was the only one who has stuck by my character's side for the entire time. And never asked for anything. So not necessarily, like, out of, like, as a player, but, like, as the character, his motives, whatever his motives are. Phil, I have no idea what your motives are if you're listening. Good Lord, I want to know. But at any rate, he's just been nothing but kind, and that's been a huge impact for me as a player and as the character, because Lola has undying faith in LA, and, like, will stand by LA because the prince has acted nothing but kind to her, regardless of how badly she has messed up in the last few weeks. Sorry, Phil.
For me, I'm going to date myself in this. So, long time ago, like early 2000s, when I was a new player to a vampire LARP in One World by Night, I played a ghoul, and he was embraced quickly, and he ended up being low generation, so he was diablerized quickly because he was not really powerful enough to really fend himself. And I kind of thought, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll come up with a new character. And I was just thinking about how to play, you know, what kind of character to play when his name is Casey O'Brien. He was playing a character named Beryl Reese. He was one of the most powerful Brujah on the West Coast. He was called the leader of the Brujah on the West Coast. And he said, hey, do you want to play my kid? And I'm like, wait, what? What, you are, like, one of the most powerful players in the game, like in the network, and you want me to play your kid? And I was so honored that anyone would have asked me to play that, but he said, you know, you're, like, you have a solid, you role play solidly, and, like, I think you're great. And I'm like,
this is where Virgo came from, right?
This is Virgo Reese, who became the Brujah Camarilla lawyer. And I talked about his stories in the past, but it's because of Beryl Reese, and yeah, like, when he went to the Camarilla to, like, basically indict the prince that killed his sire, part of it was because I was so appreciative that very, very experienced player wanted to role play with me, that when he got revenge, he went really, really hard, and I remember that moment being given the ashes by someone we both know.
Aww.
He was one of the Archons that gave me...
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was him and the guy, and my friend Alan, who played Jack Sebastian. They both represented the Justicariat, and they said, we deliver you justice, and they gave the ashes of the person who I prosecuted, and I fell on my knees and cried in front of 300 people.
That's amazing.
It was...
So good.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And it's because of a veteran player that vetted me.
To be that older player who really made a newer player, there is a player at Dystopia Rising. I saw a player who had a lot of potential, a lot of good, and a lot of growth that he could get. And I watched him for a long, long time. And in Dystopia Rising, there's things called advanced professions, and I have an advanced profession called American Badass. And he also played American, and I watched him for a long time, and one day he, I genuinely, got taken back, and I was like, wait, he did what? And so I kind of, started pre-testing him, and I remember giving him his first lesson. He did not expect it to come. I actually wasn't at the event. I actually traveled from a convention that I was at with a friend of mine to that event to give him his first lesson, and I literally, he was not expecting me to be there, and I jumped him with the lesson, And afterwards, like, we were sitting there when we were role-playing, and we were role-playing for just hours. And the role-play was literally, I tried to kill him. He lost. I didn't kill him, and I taught him a lesson. And then him and I laid on our backs in the middle of a field, staring up at the stars, just talking about what the lesson was, what it means, and all of that. And after the game, he actually, so I wrote on his card. He didn't realize what I was writing until after the game, and he messaged me after the game. Sorry, choking up a little bit. He messaged me after the game, and he's like, "I was so touched by this, and I wanted to thank you because I've been trying for this for a long time, and it's really good to know that someone like you noticed." Oh. And I still think about that. I'm like, I made that dude's game, and I made that dude's like character, and it's still so good. And as an older player, knowing that you can kind of make someone's game is the best. Knowing that, like, even just one small action, either big or small, can really, really make someone's game. So as an older player, that's kind of my goal with everybody I meet. It'll either take me a few seconds or a few years, but I really hope to do that with everybody I meet.
So, yeah, being an experienced player, you can really make someone's game, whether that is good or bad. So unfortunately, for one of the few things that I actually really, it sticks out in my head from being a new player, was some gatekeeping. So there was this giant mod going out, and they were recruiting people to fight, and I rolled my character as a combat character. She's someone who fights, who just wants to hit things. So that was right up her alley. And I went out wanting to be a part of this mod, and some of the veteran players were like, unless you have X amount of body points, you shouldn't come. You're not coming. We're not going to let you come.
I've heard this a lot.
Yeah. So, which did shape how I LARPed and how I portrayed that character later on, and how I still portray that character. I want to make sure that doesn't happen for newer players. Which that also transfers over to another thing. Even if your character is a shitty character, that doesn't mean they have to be a shitty character all the time. My character is harsh and annoying and sassy and will be rude to you. But at the same time, especially if I know you're a newer player, sometimes I won't, but I'll give you the benefit of a doubt. And if I see you struggling, or if I know that you want to do a thing and people are telling you you can't, or you're not sure, I will be there to help and assist you. And you don't have a weapon, you have a really crappy new weapon, and you want to go hit things? Cool. Guess what? I have like 5. Take one of my really cool ones. You can keep it forever. Go hit that thing, because it doesn't matter if you don't have X amount of body points. Do the thing, because you're good enough.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
I wanted to say that, to, again, piggyback off of this, during our morning scene, which I talked about before, how you, as a veteran player, had that scene with me, and just that one sentence to me, and affected me so much as a new player. That was still my second game. And someone came up to me later who was one of the mourners, and they said that it was their first ever NPC shift that they had ever done, was this scene. And she's like, I didn't know, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know that they were supposed to be like this. They just told me that I was just going to be an imp and that I was just going to fight stuff, and I had to go sit down. I felt like I had a husband and I lost him. I had bleed. I was so upset. I didn't know it would be like this, and I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry. She's like, no, it was beautiful. And I'm like, well, then I'm sorry for ruining every other NPC shift for you forever.
That set the bar for that poor NPC, and like everything else past that is going to be like, ah, man, can we go back to crying?
But I mean, like, even me, a new player, there was someone still newer than me, and I was able to shape their story and shape their interaction. There is always someone, I don't want to say behind you, because it's not like that, but there's always someone else a little bit younger than you that you can help, even if you're a new player. You don't have to wait until you're a veteran to start reaching out and shaping and interacting in wonderful, positive ways.
Wow.
Damn straight.
Yes.
It is now time to wrap this up because I could keep going, but it is time. It is time to wrap up. So, everyone, where can people find you? Let's start off with Viv.
No.
No?
I want to put this in.
Yeah.
I wanna
Well,
point at
actually, if you're gonna say no, I do want to thank our Patreon supporters for live action roleplay dab. You know, yeah. You know, thank you so much to our supporters: Talon Bowler, Treasure Kalafa, Aaron Ludlow, Geeky Tees, and Twin Mask. Thank you so much for supporting what we do, so that we can continue to make content. Like, it's because of you we could do things like be on Spotify and have like the amount of downloads. We're now on another streaming distribution called Radio Public now as well. And yeah, we're just continuing to grow and expand, and thank you so much. Are you ready now?
I still got stuff in my teeth, but yeah. Sure, I can do it.
Sure.
Got it.
I missed the question. What am I talking about?
Socials.
Socials.
Yes, I have those. Hi. I am Vivid Vivka once again. That is VIVID VIVKA. I'm on the Twitters. I'm on the Facebooks. I'm on the, what else is there? Instagram, but damn you, Instagram, you suck. I'm also on Patreon. Once again, I do lots of D&D. I do lots of LARP. I'm incredibly lonely online. Please find me and friend me. Let's talk. Whatever. Now I'm just rambling.
And incredibly beautiful pictures.
Yes.
Above 18, please only. Thank you.
That too. But
It's like you said that, my heart started beating fast, and I was like,
incredibly beautiful pictures.
I don't know. I can't.
Whatever.
I don't.
TNA.
Oh yes.
D&D and TNA.
Oh my god, I'm so mad. I never thought of that. That's pretty much my aesthetic. D&D and TNA. How you doing? I'm now making shirts of that, and if this comes out before the shirts come out, don't steal it. There's
You're
some
welcome.
kind of legally binding. This is right now.
We'll take this podcast, put it in an envelope, send it, date it, post it, mail it to yourself.
That's right. This podcast is immediately going to my lawyer. Do not take this. Thank you, Kai. I'm taking it from you, and we're
Damn
done.
it.
You could have made money.
I could have.
You're a sucker.
This is
I am.
basically a legally binding agreement right here, right now. Also, check me out on social media. ...
Well, crap.
It's called an ellipsis.
What is what is?
A dot is called an ellipsis.
But nobody says ellipsis.
Ellipsis.
It's a thing now. Hashtag ellipsis.
Dot is basically a figure of speech at this point. None of this
All
is
right,
making
Liam.
it into this right now.
Mr. Cat.
Excuse me, sir. Get it correct. I'm a dead body, piloted by 3 cats. We are basically a Jaeger. You can find me on Instagram at the Liam Neary.
Ginger Jaeger.
I am a ginger Jaeger, at least a half breed, at least because the beard and
Yeah.
brown red.
Neapolitan.
Anywho, yeah. I don't know how to follow Viv. It's fucking. Why do you?
What are your social medias? Twitter
I
and
just
Instagram?
said it. Instagram is the Liam Neary. I don't really
How do
use
you... One word?
the
spaces?
no
Spell it.
spaces. No.
Liam doesn't believe in punctuation, just like he doesn't believe in buying literacy for his characters.
No, it's
Listen,
4
okay,
points. It is 4
I'm
points.
still there too.
I refuse. It is 4 points. John Bassett, if you
Team
can hear me,
illiterate.
it's 4 points. It is 4 points. It's
I had
too
to
much.
buy the literacy off the open for DR. Don't even at me.
Okay.
I'm allergic
Alfred.
to reading. Hi. So you can find me. Hi, I'm Aelflaed. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, AELFLAEDMODEL. I'm also on Facebook as Aelflaed, though I don't really use that. So I mean, go for it if you want. But yeah, I take pics. I stand in for pictures. I take them. They're pretty nice. I LARP.
DNA.
Yeah, sure, you betcha. And also, please be over 18 if you're gonna look at those, please.
Oh yes.
There's some butts and some stuff.
There's some butts and stuff and butts.
We're going
Stuff
into
and
business
butts.
together making those t-shirts. Yeah. There's gonna be buttons, maybe pasties.
Buttons.
Buttons.
Wow. Love you, ladies. Okay, I guess it's my turn.
You want to talk about your smut?
I have none. It's great. I have none. The most you can see is my abs. Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Cynthia__Marie. That's 2 underscores. Or on Twitter at CynDancer, CYN Dancer. You can also find us, both Viv and I, on Tuesdays. Sirens of the Realm, playing Ghost and Jerusalem. Pew, pew, pew.
Where I constantly fuck up your character and then apologize later in very sweet ways.
Yeah, it's great. Hashtag ice and fire. That's up for debate.
I'm sorry, Xeris. I'm ice. You're a freaking winner. You don't have any ice spells. I was so
up for debate. So, or you can find me on Fridays on LA by Night, Geek and Sundry, where I play Nellie G, the very secretive Toreador vampire, or on this podcast of Wednesdays, or at Twin Mask, or there's just so many. Like, just find me, just say hi. I'm around now. I know how to use the Twitters.
The Twitters and the Instagrams.
We know how to do the tweets.
Tweepers.
Yeah. Check us out, tweeps.
Shall I do this one so you can finish off?
Yeah.
Ryan? All right. So I am on most of the things as Yokai Props. That is YOKAIPROPS. Yep. I also have a LARP that I run called Dystopia Rising Northern California. You can find that on Facebook under Dystopia Rising NorCal Players or Dystopia Rising NorCal. You can also find our website, which has a whole bunch of cool information and things. It's a very sexy website. Through there, you can buy tickets and all those types of things at dystopiarisingnocal.com.
All right, and this is Ryan Omega. You could find me on Facebook and Instagram under Ryan Omega, and on Twitter under Ryan OMGA. You can also find me on the podcast Venture Ventures, which is a D&D/comedy podcast where I play Orson the Warlock Pig Farmer. And I recently was just interviewed on a podcast called Interview with a Nerd with Richard Cardenas, who is one of the castmates. And we were talking a lot about LARP, and we ended up talking about things like, how does one join a LARP? But we also talked about things like bleed and consent and all these wonderful things, and why LARP is a wonderful community to be in. All right. So thank you for joining us. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
Round 2 to snap you in half, Ryan.
Bye.
I'm gonna die.
The only note you write. What is happening?